check this out. This video is going to be about sexual discipline and spirituality and how it's related. Okay, so the body has so many demands upon us. It demands food, it demands sleep, it demands sex, it demands everything. It demands your constant attention. When the body is sick, you have to rest. So the body is constantly weighing you down, weighing you down, weighing you down. And it's constantly binding yourself to this material existence. Now, the biggest bounding or the biggest urge that the body asks of you, being the self, the witness, the soul, is to fulfill the sex desire. Now, essentially, if we're constantly ruminating and dwelling upon the sex release or food, it means we're still stuck in those lower three chakras. We're still stuck in our lower nature. We're still stuck in our primal nature. Is this wrong? No. Is this morally wrong? No. Is there a time and a place to use sexuality? Of course there is. But nobody wants to be a slave. Nobody wants to be at the whim of their flesh. So, let's take this example of someone who's really obese. They can't actually control grabbing something and putting this food that they know they don't need or want, which is causing the misery, putting it into their mouth. See, they're a slave to their flesh. They haven't mastered themselves whatsoever. Now, if you want to relate that to sexuality, there's some people who are heavily addicted to porn and sexuality, meaning that they'll do all these things from getting money to getting nice clothes, or cars, just so they can get a sexual release in a way that is an addiction of itself. So, the wisdom that can be learned here is not to be against sex, but it is to move from compulsivity to consciousness, to move from being a slave to actually having a choice. So now this is a place of freedom, because now you can choose whether to embark on it. So, and this is why a lot of, if you want to talk about dating and male-female dynamics, it's like a lot of men just give their sexuality up for free, as if it has no value. For a woman, she keeps the gates to sex because she has to keep it on lock. She has to make the guy work for it and prove his worth. So then she eventually gives access to him after he goes through a trial period. But a lot of men are just waiting for a woman to give it to them as if their own sexuality isn't worth anything. Anyway, that's some ism. That's some next level game. I'm talking about spirituality. So essentially, once you rise above, once you transcend the demands of the body, you will enter a dimension of life that's not material, that's not physical. It will be non-physical, spiritual, or esoteric. So this practice is very powerful because now you're in a state of choice. You can choose whether or not to satisfy this urge. You're not just a slave to that. Right? So a lot of men out here, unfortunately, and a lot of men will not do this because it's very hard. And 95% of men don't have the discipline for this. But I can assure you, if you can attempt this, your life will be transformed. Beard's thicker, hair grows sharper mentally, and above all the superficial benefits like female attraction and all this stuff is a spiritual revelation or spiritual realization. You start to realize your own true nature as the self, not as the mind and the body, because now you're ruling above the mind and the body. You've transcended it. Transcending it just means you can see it from a third eye, bird's eye point of view. So let's take the example of let's really analyze the sex impulse. It arises, and as it's arising in the body and the mind, we have to immediately burn it, there and then. Which is a shame, because if you can sit there, just try it next time, as if you're watching a movie screen. This is the mind, and the emotion of lust comes up. If you can watch it rise and fall, and not cooperate with it, not indulge in it, now you've translated it. You've transmuted it into higher centers. So that's a point of power. It's a position of power. Now, it's no secret that if any of you know anything about pimping or ism, pimps have full control over their sexual nature. So this is not just a thing for spirituality. I mean, even though pimps are spiritual because they delve into esoteric knowledge, but essentially you want to have discipline because you're gonna have a different energy about you. You're not gonna have creep vibes if you're on a date with a woman. You're not gonna be seedy or needy, and you'll finally rise above the craving and slaving that goes along in the mating and dating game. So, and that will be attractive, because if you're a man out there, I'm speaking mainly to the men in this video, but for the men out there, a lot of women are used to guys just going on dates with them just to get in their pants, just to get a shot at getting them in the bedroom. So if you're on a date with a lady and she can feel that you're not needy, you're not desperate, it's going to be attractive, and she can finally relax, because she'll realize that you're actually seeing her beyond her physical beauty. Now, don't get me wrong. Hey, we're human. It's fine to see the physical beauty, but to go beyond that and to realize that there's something more beautiful in a woman than just the object of sense gratification. There's something very beautiful about a woman, which is her intuition, which is her intellect, which is her perspective, which is her loving heart. Now, these are generalizations, I understand, but I feel like a lot of men are stuck on their lower three chakras: the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. And this chakra system just means wheel of energy, and it harks back to the yogis, the ancient yogi system. So essentially, with disciplining the sexual urge, that energy that produces the sexual urge, which is your consciousness, can rise above finally and hit the heart chakra right here, where your universal cosmic identity is awakened. So that's when we hear about kundalini awakening. And this is all from this ancient yogi system. So if you can retain that energy and cultivate it, they call it sex transmutation. If any of you are familiar with Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Sex transmutation, bringing that sexual urge beyond just the lower three chakras, finally into the heart chakra. They call it brahmacharya in Sanskrit, which is the process of cultivating and disciplining that sexual energy and allowing it to rise up different energy centers. Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya. Brahma means the ultimate. Charya means the path to. So brahmacharya means you're on the path to the ultimate realization. And it's no secret that all these spiritual giants like Buddha, Jesus Christ, Chaitanya, Ramakrishna, Gandhi, Sri Ramana Maharshi, they all practice this. And it's not, I think in the Western world, it's seen as different or strange because not many people do it. But I mean, a lot of us are spiritually asleep. So again, having said that, there's a time and a place. And there's a thing called tantric sex as well, where you do engage in sex, but you refrain from the release because that energy is very potent and you want to use that to transmute up to different levels, right? So that's the video. That's just a short introduction to what sexual discipline can give you as a man, and understanding that we don't want to be limited and bound by our lower nature. We want to be free. We want to be liberated. And just because you close the tap on sexuality, just because you're not actually engaging in sex, that doesn't mean it's actually going to be transmuted, because this energy is building up and building up down in that lower root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, which is the root chakra. So by retaining that for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's going to start building up and up and up and up. And you have to have the necessary tools to transmute that. So meditation, pranayama, which is breathing techniques, yoga asanas, which is postures, working out, or using that energy to make a new business idea or a side hustle. These are all key ways that you can transmute this energy and actualize your potential. So once again, the religions have demonized sex, which is really ugly. I mean, if you're just repressing it and condemning it and pushing it down and down and suppressing it, it's bound to come out in a very ugly way. And we see that a lot in different institutions. So I don't fuck with that at all. That's not understanding sexuality. It's just energy. So if you can just discipline that, it's just energy, that can start to get bigger and bigger and bigger until a point of transmutation. And transmutation is organic. There's no There's no question of suppression or repression or condemnation. It's just a matter of, once I said, rising above it to the third eye, bird's eye view, where you can watch it come and go like any emotion in your vast movie screen of awareness. So if you can cultivate that, take some distance away from your lower nature, from your flesh, you'll start to realize something higher, and that is something called spirituality. Thank you.